everyone, and thank you guys for joining us for a new episode of Four Friends in a Book podcast. My name is Chris Colson, and of course, I'm here with my friends, Isaiah Tukes, Kimberly Lake, Laria Reed, and this book for the month of April, we are reading The Voice in My Head is God by Chainz Upbringing, a.k.a. 2 Chainz. So look, first and foremost, if you guys are tuning in for the very first time, we are four friends. We read books each month and we come in to discuss them. So we like to consider ourselves a book club, book reviewers mixed with table talk amongst friends. So look, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button right now.
Please.
And get caught up and current with all of our episodes, all of our discussions, all of our books that we've featured and read here on Four Friends in the Book podcast. And look, for those returning listening and viewing audience, again, we appreciate you guys for your support, for rocking with us on this journey. Look, we are in season 6 of Four Friends in the Book podcast. Look, our little pandemic dream has kept rolling. We're still here. We are still alive and well. Like some have not fallen off. You know, they not here anymore, but we still rocking with it.
Right.
We still bringing you guys these books each month. These great discussions and these great rants. My brother Isaiah too, to wrap us up at the end of the show each month. So. All right, y'all, let's get into it. Again, like the year's been flying by, so much stuff going on, just crazy. And I think we kind of find solace in just reading books and having great discussions here. So the book for this month, The Voice in My Head is God by 2 Chainz. Really kind of just covering his life journey, some pivotal moments within his life. Of course, we know him being a rapper, entrepreneur, all those things that we know him to be from the hip hop community and world, but really just kind of sharing his behind the scenes experience here, talking about this voice in his head, this intuition, God, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. He's really highlighting what that is for him and how it's helped him navigate his life and some moments throughout his life. And so let's get into this book. Let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. Let's discuss it. Look, y'all already know what the first question is. I leave with it in each episode being, what did you think of this book? And if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be? And I'm going to come to Mr. Fort Valley over here.
Come on, Fort Valley.
Okay.
Let my brother kick the show off, man. Look, look, 2 Chainz was a HBCU grad as well.
He was.
So from HBC to HBCU, I'm going to let you kick this show off and let us know what you thought about this book and what that rating would be.
So I read this book. It was a good book, a short read, but it was actually mighty. I didn't know what to expect. I know a lot about 2 Chainz based on his, his music, his personal experiences. That's what I was able to learn from. Even that, he had actually a great look on life. He's actually a good storyteller. Reading this book is like, I felt like I was watching a movie. And, this book is not only talks about just his life, but it's just about the certain situation that he's just able to just come through. I know he talked about that voice in his head, just trying to make sure that he was following the correct aspect that he was going through in life, and don't let that street persona fool you. He was a graduate of a 4.0 undergraduate. As Chris said earlier, I did not know he went to a HBCU, so I can see where that inner grind and grit actually came from. I didn't even know he was a Lakers fan, but so I wonder why I always saw him at a lot of the Lakers games. So as I was reading that, I like, this is a really cool dude, especially was talking about him being a Kobe fan and, knowing LeBron James. And I've been to his restaurant, Escobar, and that food is actually really good as well, too.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But even more than that, I like the aspect of him even talking about sharing his stories about his health. He takes it very seriously about what he puts into his body, how he keeps his temple clean. I'm like, that is the first aspect to anything if you want to be happy, healthy, and whole. I live by those as well. But, 2 Chainz, he never disappointed in his music. He did not disappoint in his book. He is one positive brother. And I like that. And I really love this book. And I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. All right now.
Look, coming from our vegan friend, like, I think 2 Chainz
Exactly. The health chapter got him. Just took him all over the top. I'm like,
it took me.
This doesn't have anything to do with the book. You on personality.
And of course, a diehard Laker fan. So I can see why you are being connected with 2 Chainz.
Yes.
Okay, so we got a 9 from Isaiah kicking off the review. And kind of his rating for The Voice in My Head Is God by 2 Chainz. So coming to Kimberly Lake next. What did you think about this book? And if you had to rate it on that scale of 1 to 10, look, a whole number, because you've been doing good. Now, keep us whole on a whole number. Out. What would that be?
So I listened to this book on Audible. So 2 Chainz, like, narrating this book, it was very entertaining. Like, the way he was telling stories, it felt like he was just talking to, like, a homeboy or something. He was like, you know, this day we went out to the club, and we went to the club, we saw a home dude, and he was like, so it was very entertaining listening to the audiobook. I feel like this book, it's not long on Audible. I think it's like 5 hours or something. So it felt like a little snack, like a snack book. So if you want to read this book, I mean, it can't hurt, because it's like 5 hours of your time. Now, did I enjoy the book? Yeah, I pretty much enjoyed the book. I didn't get, like, you know, gobs and gobs of advice or whatever, but I think he's a great guy. He's very entertaining. He's very driven, very smart. I didn't know, like Isaiah said, he's serious about his health and even his business acumen. Like, he's willing to, like, take those risks and, like, invest in this and do that. So he's done really well for himself. So overall, I would rate this book a 7. I thought it was a good book. I think everybody should just read it if you have time, because like I said, it's not a long read, and it's entertaining. Like, I really was cracking up, because I was like, when he was telling his stories, it was hilarious on Audible. So I would overall rate it a 7.
Okay. So we got a 9 and a 7 so far for The Voice in My Head Is God by 2 Chainz. And look, again, if you guys have read this book, love to hear your ratings, love to hear your feedback as well. Give us your insight. So coming to Miss Reed next to kind of give this third perspective and third rating. So what did you think about this book and what that rating be?
It was like, I watched those shows, Trap Queens, and like all of those drug movies about how, you know, these kingpins and stuff. I'm like addicted to that. So when I listened to it on Audible. So when I listened to the book, I was like, oh, this is like textbook Trap Queens. This is like all of the, you know, all the drug. It actually reminded me of what's the other book we did? Jeezy's book. Mm-hmm. It reminded me a lot of that too, with the upbringing, with the family and stuff. And I'm just like, yo, mama got you getting like, what? I was getting mad about the environment, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. The environment that he had to be raised in with all of that and the drug bust and stuff, that it was making me mad, really, for him to have to go through what he went through. He's done, and for him to be so intelligent and so smart. And I was just thinking, you know, how he could have, if he were redirected in the right way growing up as a kid, how, you know, with the intelligence that he had and the smarts and the intuition and all these things, how he could have been in a whole nother direction. Not saying he's not in that way now, but, you know, he just wouldn't have had to go through so much, all the arrests and all those things. Right. So I enjoyed the book. It was a good book. It was solid. His story is very interesting. I agree with Kim. It was funny. I felt he started talking about the club that we used to go to, Visions, when I was in college. I was like,
oh, look, you can relate to that? You can relate.
I'm good at Vision, Trap Queen.
Visions was it. I was like, well, I was in there with the drug dealers. But it was a solid book. I enjoyed his transparency. And for him to really tell his story, I believe that it'll be inspirational to a lot of people. That's not my story. I didn't grow up that way, but I'm sure there are others who have. And I believe that it would be completely inspirational to somebody who's had to go through, you know, start from the bottom, now we're here kind of person, in the sense of, and I'm not talking about starting from, I'm talking about like, you know, family or origin, where your upbringing of where you live and the projects and all those things. So I really, really enjoyed the book. It was good. It was solid. And I was thinking about my number. I'm with Kim. I'll give it a solid 7. It was good.
Okay. So we got a 9 and 2 7 so far for the voice in my head is God by Mr. 2 Chainz himself, Chainz Upbringing. I was a little disappointed with the book, to be honest. I was expecting so much from 2 Chainz. Again, we know him to be a rapper, entertainer, just a vibrant vocal person, like with his ad libs and everything else. Great storyteller, but what really took me out, I feel like he just jumped around I didn't get the complete story for anything. Like he would start something. He would start a story.
He did do that.
And he was like, well, I'll talk about that later. He'll tell something. Like he was like, man, I went to Alabama State and they tried to rob me. And
I'll talk about that later.
And so I like that really like shifted I was getting upset. Like I was mad at 2 Chainz by the end of this book because I felt like there was so because I feel like there was so much more to these stories, and he was just giving snippets, and I would get invested, kind of like Isaiah talk about like all the time. Like you get invested into these stories and like the information, and then he just cut you off. And so for me, that was very frustrating, and I think it kind of shaped my overall like experience of this book. So yeah, I didn't really. I think by the time I got to the end, I was kind of over it because I felt like he kept just like stringing me along. So this wasn't really my forte. And yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as I was expecting to. So
gotcha.
I think I'm gonna have to give it like a 5, man. It really didn't. I think the story was there. I think he could have probably developed it a little bit more to kind of really just, I guess, convey it from like start to beginning. Definitely has a colorful life. Definitely has a lot of colorful experiences. As Laria mentioned, even like his upbringing to him having a shootout in California, getting shot, like still performing, like all these things. But it was so segmented and I was just getting frustrated with the book. And so for me, I think it was more so, I guess the writing style was my hang up. Again, a great person, extremely smart, talented. Again, we all know him from hip hop culture and all those things, but on the book side, man, he fell a little short for me. So, all right, so we got a 9, 2 7s, and a 5 for The Voice in My Head is God by Mr. Chainz Upbringing, aka 2 Chainz. So again, if you guys have read or listened to this book, we would love to hear your rating and any comments or thoughts you have about it as well. So drop those in the comment section right now. And give us that feedback and insight to what you thought about this book. All right, so Laria kind of touched on it, and I think it kind of leads into our next question and discussion. I do kind of wonder, given his background, his childhood, experiencing like multiple drug busts at a very early age, both his parents kind of, being within that environment, that atmosphere, himself, also, selling drugs at a young age and getting busted in high school and all these things. And he kind of covers all those different experiences.
Right.
But it does, I guess, kind of make me wonder like how things could have been differently for him, given a different path or a different environment, or was that kind of what was needed for his success? Because again, he still ended up being a very successful person. Again, rapper, entrepreneur, just doing great things. Even Isaiah mentioned, like just being extremely smart and talented, which we don't always associate with entertainers and rappers as well. So, kind of what you guys' thoughts and opinion about again his upbringing? And maybe the positive or negative aspects of that environment. What do you think what kind of impact did it have on who he is today? Or again, do you think given a different circumstance or a different environment, would that have maybe shaped it to be something different? And so I'm gonna come to Kim on that question. What are your thoughts about, again, his overall just upbringing? Because he does share a lot about that and the impact it may have had on his current status, or could it have been different, again, given a different environment?
And like Laria was saying earlier, it was so interesting hearing him tell his story, especially growing up, because like she said, I know some people have grown up like that, but the way he was talking about his upbringing, it sounded so like it was just normal, like nothing. Right. And I'm like, your house then got drug busted a good 3-4 times before you like grad. So it's like that was so interesting to me because I was like, this is not normal. Which segues to the end as I was listening to the story with him talking about his life. I was like, oh, he should go to therapy. Like, he needs to go to therapy. And it's funny at the end how he ended the book. Like, I know some of y'all might think I need to go to therapy, but I don't need to go. Like, this is my therapy. I'm like, no, I think you do need to go. But besides that, I think that did help him with his, I guess I would say his hustle nature or overall, because like your daddy, a drug dealer, he a hustler, you drug dealing with your mom, she a drug dealer. Everybody she deals with is a drug dealer. And even when they had that raid, it was so interesting when his mom stuffed the drugs and hit them on him. So when they got his family's house, they looked for him and they found him. They were all excited. I was like, what is happening? What is happening? But yeah, so I think it did help him because it did, even though it's with drugs and everything, he was like a hustler and all that kind of stuff. So now in the business world, I think he uses that same type of mentality and the way he took risk and all that stuff with his legitimate businesses now. So I think it did help him, but it was just so interesting hearing his story because I kept being like, this is wild. But him telling it was just like, he was just like he's taking his dog for a walk. Like it was just nothing. I was like, whoa. So.
Yeah, that was wild. Look, the cops ain't checking the kid for no packs. Inside his pocket, so he get to stick it out the house doing a drug raid, and then of course the family know about it, so they, where is it? Okay, we got it, we good.
They're like, yay!
That's wild. Loria, any additional thoughts? Again, I know you kind of leaded into this discussion earlier, but any additional thoughts or opinions on again just his environment, upbringing? As Kim kind of pointed out, I'm pretty sure that had an impact to how he's, approaches situations now. But do you think, even given a different circumstance, could that have potentially been, different for him, or did it kind of work out the way it needed to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like Kim. I was just baffled and dumbfounded. It was so, I was listening to the part where they got busted. They had a drug bust and his dad was coming in and he was saying when the police came in, his dad put a gun to his head and was like, y'all gonna kill me anyway, just go on and I'm gonna do it, or y'all gonna do it. And I was just sitting there like, and the way he was saying it was like, yeah, he was just saying he was going to, his tone and how, since I was on Audible, I could hear like he's almost numb to the fact of what happened to him. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? What kind of parents did you have having you in this kind of environment where you're in danger? And he talked about the battering ram hitting, and he was like Isaiah said, he's so descriptive. It was like I was there with him, sitting there watching it all happen. And in my head, I was scared for him, but it just sounded like that's just the way he grew up. So he was used to it. And I mean, for him to be where he is and not be dead or in prison is a miracle within itself. And, y'all know I'm going to go on the Lord's side on this. I know God has a mighty plan for him because, I mean, just with his life and where he is, that's the Lord. He's right. That it wasn't nothing but God. And even before he probably even had an awareness, God was looking out for him, because he really didn't have no direction. He didn't have anybody that was an adult to tell him, no, we're going to do things legitimately. We're going to make sure that we do this. Yes, we may be whatever, but you're going to use your education. We're going to do these things. It was just so, and it wasn't even like y'all selling a little bit on the side. Y'all deep, y'all all up in it, and for him to be so young, 5 and 12, and I'm just like, I'm telling you, something about those children, it just bothers me. It hurts my heart because I felt like I was with him in that when he was going through it. So that really hurt me. That hurt me to know that. And I do believe what he talks about with intuition and all that. I do believe that was God telling him certain things because he didn't have the guidance. That's what your parents are for when you're growing up. You don't know God's voice yet. So they're there to help guide you until you're able to, know it on your own. But he always had that awareness because if he didn't, where would he be? I mean, good God. was bad. Look, I'm sorry, 2 Chainz. I really am. I hate that happened to you.
No, that's good. I think it's always interesting to hear some perspective or experience that's like drastically different from what you may have experienced. And so to hear kind of his upbringing, and we've heard it from other, rappers or entertainers, like you said, even mentioning Jeezy, like very at a young age, like, living that life to kind of fuel and pay for his transition into the rap game. And that was similar here with 2 Chainz as well. But I do wonder, like, given a different like background or direction, like what could he have accomplished or how much further along could he have been? I definitely think it's giving him the hustle mentality and the awareness to navigate life and to be in the space of success today. But I do wonder like how things may have been different if he wasn't in that, if he wasn't kind of a product or placed in that environment and able to kind of navigate some of those spaces, a little differently. So Isaiah, any kind of final thoughts or opinions about that? Again, just his upbringing, kind of background. And again, it's definitely led him to success, but
correct.
Do you think given a different path, could it have been even something different or things could have been turned out different given the not such a troubled childhood and upbringing? So
I think just growing up around that instability, watching his parents go in and out of jail, and it's just not stuck with his parents. He talked about his grandmother going in and out of jail, being a hustler as well too. So this is the lineage that he's following. That's all he saw. He was the only child. So this is what he actually modeled after. And that actually forced him, from my eyes, to mature early. But just instead of him going down those repeated cycles, he wanted more for not just for him, but for his family as well too. And even when he's sharing the stories of his mom, his dad, his grandparents, it's not from a lens of shame. It's from a lens of, I want my parents to do better. It's from a lens from, I'm not judging them, but I saw how they had to survive in the environment that it was giving. And I just wanted better for me, not just for me, but for my family as well too. As well too, that's coming behind me. But what stands out the most is especially like, with his road to success was not the accolades, but just basically the impact of what he had on people around him. He talked about his proudest moments of him being able to afford to buy his mom a house. When his dad got released from jail, him moving his dad into his house with him and his dad being proud of him saying, I think his dad asked a question, son, can you afford that? And, he told his dad, yeah, dad, I got you. I can afford it. This is why I work hard. This is why I grind hard as well too, not just to be living frugally out here, but I'm actually doing something. I want to actually, making sure that my family is good. And, not just for him, but, he enjoys going to the games with his kids. These are these legacy moves that we talked about. And my girl Reed know how I feel about those legacies. But that's just basically a bigger purpose of actually what he wanted, or just restoring his family and just changing the trajectory of like what he was actually given, in life too as well too. So I think that actually shaped him, even though we came up and from different backgrounds, we ultimately have the same goal of just wanting better, not just for us, but just for our family and the closest people that are around us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you kind of bring up a good point that we've discussed before as well. Like you can come from a certain environment or be a product of that environment, but also you don't have to stay within that environment. And so there is evolution, there's growth. And I'm pretty sure even his sons now, her kids now, like they're not having to endure the same things that he has gone through. And so it's showing the growth, the evolution, the change, even though you may have these, circumstances, like you can, come out of that and be better, be greater, and not to, again, put down his experiences, but, you don't have to stay within that.
Correct.
That's right.
Beyond that. So, wow. All right. Good input from all of you guys. Look, Laria been kind of killing it on this whole episode. I'm kind of really deferring to her because she spotlighting all the questions I got. But and again, you kind of touched on it in your previous response about, again, God being with him and that intuition or hearing that voice.
Correct.
He has a chapter, Something Told Me, where he's saying like, I think at some point he wasn't quite sure. Like, you hear this, this had this thought, this feeling, or this notion to like, hey, I shouldn't do this, or something's gonna happen if you do this type of thing. And he really kind of harps into that. And it's kind of the overall premise of his book. Again, the voice in your head is God. Being either, whatever your beliefs may be, that's being God, your inner being, your inner self, intuition, whatever it is. But he kind of really taps into that and talked about how, importance of like, meditation and trying to fine tune your awareness to that voice. And so kind of want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions about that. And just even if you agree with that, is God really speaking to us, or is it just we speaking to ourselves? Like, what are your thoughts and opinions? I think I know, but I want to hear you guys kind of speak to that. So, Laria, coming to you on that question about this inner voice, this intuition, God, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. What do you think about that? And do you agree with 2 Chainz and his perspective on that?
I was thinking about it, and I was like, this is almost a theological question, and it made me want to go deeper into it. And I am going to really kind of study it from a deeper standpoint about a God consciousness and how we are born with a certain level of knowing certain things. And then, according to my belief, once you accept Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit leading and guiding you, and you knowing that it's the Spirit telling you what to do. And so listening to him in his book, it was kind of like it feels like, and this is just my belief, and I think I said it before, I feel that he wasn't guided with people around him to assist him in that. Correct. And I believe that God, even, and I was thinking about the scripture that I love, God is close to the brokenhearted. I feel like even with the situation that he was in I don't even think he understands. And Kim touched on the brokenness of him as a man. And I think he had a lot of brokenness even as a child. And I think that God has just been with him the whole way to help him be who he is today. So he always had a knowing before things happen. Always had a, I think that's God telling me, and for him to even say it, I know God has got to be telling me da 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 da. And even in his wrong, it was like God was trying to tell him. I don't think he was telling him, no, hide the drugs. I think he was telling him, don't do it. Like, you don't need to be doing this, dog. But for him to interpret it the way that he did, I really enjoyed listening to that side of it because, I'm always around people who love the Lord and saved and all those things, but hearing his side of just, not knowing any of those things, not being brought up in the church and saying, it had to have been God that was telling me that. And you can see the path of how God was telling him certain things, even in high school and middle, elementary, all those different things. So I do believe that there is a God consciousness that God gives, especially to those who really aren't parented. He's not going to bring you here on earth and just have you out here. He's always going to put people in your path or give you an awareness so that you can have some sort of path. So that's just my little take. But I'm still, that really intrigued me to think deeper about when he was talking about different things. Because I'm like, yeah, that was the Lord. I know it had to have been, but being guided by the Holy Spirit and the God consciousness that we're born with or that we've given. And I think God gives it to certain people to assist them in life because they don't have no guidance. They just don't. So.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen. No, that is good. And I think we're connected from a local church. And so we're somewhat churchy. So we have our perspective. Wow. But I think it does speak to even 2 Chainz' ability to probably draw someone else in that may not have a relationship with God or may not have a relationship with Jesus. And so, and to know that there's still, even in your wrong, like there's still grace, there's still covering, and there's still direction and guidance that can come from the Lord if you, really tune in and be aware of that. So thanks for your input on that. Sister Reed.
I know, right?
Sister
I always end up with the Lord. Some kind
Sister Reed.
Isaiah, any thoughts or opinions on that, man? Just again, he really harps on this, this voice in his head being God, but just kind of want to get your thoughts and opinion, or if you even agree with kind of his thoughts or surrounding that.
I think I'll agree with you and Laria that God does give you this intuition, not just for you, but He plants things and people around you to help assist you. And I know I talk about my purpose and understanding my purpose and getting closer to God is becoming actually clear to me. And I think about when you are coming into like your adulthood, that's actually a great thing because you start wondering what's your next steps, how you're going to get to this goal, because you really understand that, the world actually needs you. And, one of the things that I learned even actually going to a HBCU, shout out to mine, was that did that for me, of also showing me what I need to do and giving me actually a voice as well too. But also it was actually the household that I was raised in as well. That's what I actually differ from. Not Jay, I differ from him, me and 2 Chainz, but I was given a clear guidance of what was actually expected from me. Like my parents taught me about that you were a gift to the world and that was your purpose and how you're actually going to be prepared for any extra room that you walk into. And I know that was them preparing me for, using my gift and preparing me for the world. But also once you get into the world definitely tries to humble you. So you definitely have to be grounded in what you believe, the things that you come from, and the things that you actually stand up for. I want to do so much more, not just my impact on the world, but the things that we're actually doing right here on the podcast as well too. Like we're using this platform for, importance. And I want to be able to not just see but as far as us as collectively be able to make change, into the world, to let people know that you can read, that you can do better things, that you can be, it is cool to be smart and intuitive and, knowing that what you want to do and you don't have to follow certain trends, these TikTok trends to be cool. You can be cool just being you. And that's what I want people to understand. Just be you, be your authentic self as well too. And I don't want to go down a whole road with that is, but I think that we can follow certain things and do certain things as well too, just to make change and impact, and you don't have to do these crazy things as well that I see a lot of these young generation doing as well too. Just be yourself, and the right people are going to connect with you. You're going to go to some great places.
That's right.
That's good. That's good. Like we getting sermons today, boy. I
know,
right?
Preach, Isaiah.
Well, look, Kim, go on, take us home, girl. Go close us out.
What's the key, Kim?
Sister Lake, take us out.
No, I would just say I agree with what everyone said. I don't have much to add, but I will just say, I know just me personally, with that voice, I learned over the years, and I'm trying to make it a practice to actually listen to it. Because a lot of times, like 2 Chainz said, it'll come and then you'll brush it off, or you'll be like, nah, I don't need to do that. And then you find out you need to do that. So now I just try to make a conscious effort. Like when I hear it, stop and be like, I'm going to actually listen because it's trying to guide me. So that's all I have to add to that. So just make it a practice to actually listen and actually do what it's saying, and not just being like after the fact, oh, I should have did it. Someone told me to do that. So
no, that's good. Look, I gotta throw a quote in here. Now I give 2 Chainz this. There was a lot of great quotables, and again, a lot of good information. I was just upset why he kept leaving me hanging, But one of the things he did say was visions from God are always bigger than your capacity as a human by yourself. Yes, and so really highlighting the importance of, again, being very reliant on God, or God positioning you or putting people in your life to help carry out those visions or those, purposes in life. And so I think, again, he's not the traditional, spokesperson, but I think he's definitely drawing people in and helping people to be aware that, God is ever present within our lives and in this environment. Whether you know him personally or, you heard about him, I think there's an opportunity for us all to kind of connect. And so I will give, 2 Chainz credit in that regard. He definitely, I think, has a good appeal and probably reaching the audience that, the normal church person wouldn't be able to. And so, I applaud him for that. So, all right. So look, again, good book selection for this month here on Four Friends in the Book podcast. The Voice in My Head is God by Mr. Chainz Upbringing, aka 2 Chainz. Look, I ain't gonna even he got a litany of other names. We ain't gonna get into all that, but again, we would love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions about this book if you have read it. definitely give us that feedback and insight on it. So, all right, so let's switch gears a little bit. We always read books. We have great discussions about those, but we also talk about things that are just kind of going on, amongst ourselves, amongst this world, this nation, just whatever may be going on. Honestly, I feel like we've been kind of heavy these last few months. It's just been so much going on within everything. United States, these wars, these oil, ice, and then the shootings, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. So I don't really want to harp on that too much, but I want to give you guys each individually just really an opportunity to kind of talk on or touch on something that you feel like is important, that our listening and viewing audience should be, kind of tuned into or aware of at least. And so I'm gonna come back to my brother, man. Just freely, whatever's on your mind. What do you think the people, our friends here, four friends in the book should be aware of, and kind of tracking? That's just kind of something important as of right now.
Well, two things. The first thing I want to talk about these Black farmers that's going on. I think I don't want that to get that washed away. A lot of the Black farmers, they was under this Black Oregon Land Trust, and they was awarded $2.5 million, from the USDA, which actually was been in the making for the last 3 years. So suddenly this fund was actually cut, saying that, they never received any funding. And I can't actually count on my hands how many times that this has happened from the USDA, that they cancel the program, revoke policy, all because of this word that we want to talk about, DEI. But the USDA ultimately canceled this $300 million program, citing misuse of the funds, while farmers say that their cuts have already been hurting them. And these are struggling Black farmers. So now they're depending on us as the consumers, to, just for community support, finding creative ways, just to actually help subsidize them, because they're not getting any federal funding. I think that's a shame. And, we should do more as well to help these Black farmers. But secondly, I want to go to a whole different trajectory. If I have any plugs out here that are watching, I need some Jay-Z tickets this summer. Because those ticket prices.
That's what you're doing now? That's what
I'm doing now. I need a plug.
Any people out there that can help me, anybody. Please. I'm trying to get a Chris Brown and Usher.
Those ticket prices is crazy out here. Any plug?
I mean, look, if y'all want the friends to show up, we always willing to enable. So if we got somebody that want to sponsor us, we'll definitely take advantage of that.
That's so funny.
I was not expecting that one. That's
hilarious.
That is funny. Kim, any thoughts or just things that you feel like are important right now that our listening and viewing audience should be kind of aware of or tracking?
Sure. Just with a lot, like you said earlier in the open, a lot is happening now. One, I do think people still should be focused on midterms and elections coming up. Is very important. And now you should see that your voice really matters on every level. So I encourage everybody to get involved with their local elections, state, everything, because your voice is really important. So don't be discouraged about what's going on or just everything happening. Just keep your eye on the prize and just know that your voice matters. And when that time comes, make the right decision. But also, I think just now, just even with everything going on, just community is important as well. So just making sure you're linked up with people so that you just have that support that you need just to help us through. Because the way we'll get through this is together. So that is my 2 cents.
Please.
No, that's good. That's good. All right, Laria, look, you over got your hand on your chin.
She took mine completely. I'm like, dang, Kim, you all in my head. But I do have
need to hear it
one.
Twice.
Right. It's not to, I guess this is a little tea, but I'm just like, it's not tea. Well, I guess it is tea gossipish. But why y'all's president keep threatening these people? It's almost like, I'm gonna whoop you. I'm gonna whoop you. I'm gonna get you. I can't believe this is real life. Like, it's like every day this man is tweeting out the craziest, well, it's not tweet, it's X. But he's like, putting out on socials all this crazy stuff. And I'm just like, is this really for real? I keep pinching myself or trying to hit myself, or because I just cannot believe we have this man as our president and he's in charge of all of our militaries. I mean, it's just like my brain is completely baffled. If you would have told me this would be us, even in, I would have give ourselves 2020. I just can't believe this is our plight at this point. Mm-hmm. And going back to the elections, I believe is so important. We've been doing it at our church with, and I encourage you to check your status. We have a lot of people who think that they're fine. But if one thing is off on your registration status, they can deny you from voting. And correct. I believe that this time will be one of those times. So please make sure your addresses are correct. The color of your skin, because we had a black lady, she was listed as white lady. It's just crazy stuff. So make sure that all of your stuff is in order so that when you do go vote and vote against this man and the people that support him, because I'm telling y'all who to vote for at this point, because it don't seem like us telling you to vote is working. Don't vote that way, okay? Because it's got us where we are now. Don't vote for the people. We in trouble bad. So please go ahead. I know people say I ain't gonna tell you to vote for. I'm gonna tell you to vote for, because at this point we can't trust. Look, we so far gone. Somebody needs to come and get control of this thing. So, and we have the power to do that. So let's go ahead on and get that done.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think for me, it's just, again, there's just so much uncertainty with everything that's going on in the world. And to me, it really just highlights how precious life is. How things can change so quickly. So my I guess words of encouragement or advice right now is just really like for everyone to kind of take care of themselves. I think we often get into this space of, again, trying to do and be for everyone else. But really just take the time to kind of, again, address yourself, whether that's, your health, your wellness, your mental. I mean, we're in the spring season, so the sun's coming out, the weather's changing, like get outside, do something for yourself. I always say, like, you can't be of good service to anyone else if you're not in a good space or a good, state of mind. And so with just life being so crazy, life being so precious, I just really want to, push the notion that, hey, everyone, let's really take some time for yourself. Take a break from work, from the kids, whatever you may have, responsibility you may have going on. Like, don't be delinquent, but it is important for you to be in a good state of wellness. And so, look, go out there and hug a tree, go walk in the park, and just go stand outside in the backyard, but do something to kind of decompress, to relieve and reduce some stress, because it is so much going on and there's so many things. And like I said, it has been so heavy over the last year or so. And so I want everyone to really take the opportunity just to find some way to unwind, to unplug, to reset. And so that would be my words of encouragement to anyone that's listening or viewing right now. Like, really just take that time and prioritize yourself, because it's important and it's necessary. So. All right, guys. So look, great discussion, great advice, good book for this month as well. Again, we have read The Voice in My Head is God by 2 Chainz. Had some great encouragement and just things that everyone should be aware of tracking, currently of things that's, going on right now. So it's time to transition to our favorite segment of the show. Like, would not be a show without it. The portion we entitle The Rant. So we give my brother Isaiah 60 seconds to kind of speak from his heart. We don't debate it. We don't contest it. Like, he closes out every episode with him just speaking from his heart. Like, half of the time, we don't know what he's going to be telling us about. Most of the time, it's some stuff that we didn't even know about and weren't even aware of. So he definitely educates us and keeps us on our toes. So again, my brother, the floor is yours. Starting now, go.
So the UN passed a vote declaring that the transatlantic slave trade was the greatest crime against humanity and calls for reparations. If the vote were to pass, it will be stated that slavery is the most diabolical thing to happen and that reparations should be paid for. 123 nations voted yes. 52 nations voted they don't have a feeling either way, and 3 nations voted no. Who were the 3 nations? Argentina, Israel, and the United States of America. America has come out and said why they voted against it. They said that the first reason is if they were to vote for it, they would have to face legal ramifications, and they didn't want to pay reparations. And some people may not understand that there were millions of African men, women, and children who were captured. They were taken out of their homes and forced to work for someone and to be treated as a product. And sometimes you look up all these atrocities that have happened to Black folks and realize it wasn't that long ago. But for me to sit anywhere in life with a platform and not address how that took my breath away and how that made me feel as a Black American, I'm speechless. And I can't believe that this is the same nation that my family fought for in Vietnam. And I saw what the rest of their life looked like. And our ancestors died for this. Who are we not to live for it? And that's that on that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good, bro. And it's crazy because, if it would have been anybody else, the United States would have been, but I ain't gonna get into it. But again, man, we thank you for educating us, for keeping us aware of what's going on, not only within our nation, but within the world. So, all right. So look, good book, good discussions, good rants. So Isaiah, tell the people what we have coming up for next month here on Four Friends in the Book podcast.
Hey guys, as always, before we let you go, we don't want you to miss our next episode, The Book of Harlan by Bernice McFadden. You don't want to miss it. Laria, please let the viewers know when they can tune in.
You can tune in every third Thursday. We'll be right here talking about great books. You always want to be with us.
And I want to say we have reached a milestone on our channel. We have 300 subscribers. Yeah. So thank you for that. So if you're still watching and are not subscribed to our channel, subscribe now. And on social media, make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
Yes,
absolutely, guys. And look, we're also on those podcasting services. So look, if you don't want to see these pretty faces, you can always tune in on your favorite podcasting platform and listen to us on the way to work and the gym. Look, just tap in with us there as well and leave us a review. We would love to get that feedback. And as always, let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, let's have a discussion right here on Four Friends in the Book. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you, guys.